my family. What if I told you that the man who built modern wrestling, who made brother a battle cry and turned the wrestling ring into a global stage, almost lost it all? What if I told you that the larger-than-life hero of millions, the one with the bandana, the 24-inch pythons, and the thunderous leg drop, once stood at the top of the world, and then watched it all crumble beneath him? This isn't just a story about fame. It's not just about winning titles or being cheered by roaring crowds in sold-out arenas. This is a human story. A story about what happens when success becomes too heavy to carry. A story where the same spotlight that once lit you up slowly begins to burn you. You see, Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler, he was a movement. Hulkamania wasn't marketing. It was a way of life for an entire generation. Kids wore the yellow shirts. Grown men tried to flex like him. People believed in the message. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, believe in yourself. Hogan didn't just fight opponents, he fought for hope. But every legend carries a shadow. Behind the muscle, behind the fame, was a man named Terry Bollea, a man with flaws, a man who made choices, some inspiring, some devastating. As the cheers faded and the scandals rose, the world watched something heartbreaking. The fall of a hero. How did he go from Hollywood movies and WrestleMania headlines, 2 lawsuits, leaked tapes, and being erased from the very empire he helped build? My family, this video isn't just about wrestling. It's about what happens when you become the face of something bigger than yourself and then lose control of the image you created. It's about ego, redemption, and the long road to forgiveness. So if you ever believed in a hero, if you've ever watched someone fall from grace and wondered why it hurt so much, stay with me. Because Hulk Hogan's story is more than just body slams and fame. It's a real-life rise and fall. And maybe, just maybe, it has something to teach us all. Before the crowds, before the bright lights and roaring chants of Hulkamania, there was just a young man named Terry Bollea. Born in Augusta, Georgia, and raised in Tampa, Florida, Terry didn't start out with dreams of becoming the most iconic wrestler of all time. In fact, he was more into music than mayhem. A talented bass guitarist. He spent much of his early life playing in local rock bands, dreaming of making it big with music rather than muscle. But life, as it often does, had other plans. Terry was always bigger than the average guy. Towering, broad-shouldered, and strong, his physique stood out. He found himself drawn to the world of bodybuilding, where he started sculpting the frame that would one day define an era. And it wasn't long before wrestling came knocking in. The late 1970s, Terry began training in the gritty, often brutal world of professional wrestling. Back then, it wasn't glitz and glam, with smoky halls, rough matches, and barely enough money to scrape by. But he was determined. Even though he didn't quite fit the mold of the technical wrestler at the time, there was something about him, a spark, a presence. Then came the transformation. The moment that changed not just his life, but the entire world of sports entertainment. He dyed his hair bright blonde, grew out the signature handlebar mustache, started wearing the bandana, and most importantly, he crafted a persona that blended superhero confidence with real American grit. That was the birth of Hulk Hogan. Inspired by the Incredible Hulk and carrying the charm of a rock star, Hogan exploded onto the wrestling scene with charisma like no one had ever seen before. His catchphrases, his flexing, his energy, it all connected. Kids idolized him. Parents respected him. The media couldn't get enough. He wasn't just wrestling anymore. He was entertainment. He was hope. He was larger than life, and yet, behind the flash and muscle, Terry was still just a man who loved music, had dreams, and worked tirelessly to make something of himself. The humble beginnings were never forgotten. They were the quiet engine. Behind the roar of Hulkamania, it was that underdog spirit, that everyday man heart wrapped inside a giant's body, that made people believe in him. Because if Terry Bollea, just a kid from Tampa with a bass guitar and big dreams, could become Hulk Hogan, maybe we all had a little hero inside us too. In the 1980s, something wild happened. Hulkamania was born. Once it started, there was no stopping it. With his massive frame, signature redanned yellow gear, and electrifying energy, Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler anymore. he was a cultural force. Every kid wanted to tear their shirt like Hogan, flex like Hogan, and scream, "What you're gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you?" It all exploded with WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre the Giant, a moment frozen in time. Over 93,000 fans watched live as Hulk lifted the 520-pound Andre and body slammed him to the mat. That wasn't just a wrestling move. It was a myth being written in real time. Hulk Hogan had become a superhero. His matches became legendary. From clashes with the Ultimate Warrior to epic battles with Randy Macho Man Savage, Hogan was always the heart of the fight, the guy who would get knocked down. Hulk up, point that iconic finger, and turn the crowd into thunder. But wrestling wasn't enough for Hulk. He moved into movies like Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny. He had his own cartoon. His face was on lunchboxes, t-shirts, bed sheets, you name it. The man was everywhere, and through it all, his message was simple but powerful. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and believe in yourself. It wasn't just a catchphrase. To millions of kids, it was gospel. Hulk Hogan wasn't just winning matches. It was shaping minds, creating heroes, and turning wrestling into mainstream entertainment. Hulkamania wasn't a moment, it was a movement. And for a while it felt like it would never fade. As Hulk Hogan's fame soared, so did the shadows behind the spotlight. At first, he was everyone's hero. But slowly whispers started turning into headlines. Fame, money, and power didn't just elevate Hogan, they began to isolate him. In the locker room, stories started swirling. Fellow wrestlers began to speak out. They claimed Hogan wasn't just the face of wrestling. He was pulling strings behind the scenes. Backstage politics became a part of his legend. Some said he used his star power to keep himself on top, even when others deserved the spotlight. Younger talent felt buried. Matches were said to be changed, storylines rewritten, all to protect the myth of Hulkamania. And that myth started to crack. The cheers didn't fade overnight, but they started to sound different. Fans who once idolized him began to question him. Was he still the hero, or just another star who couldn't let go of the crown? Critics called him out for staying too long, for overshadowing others, for being more about Hogan than wrestling itself. Ego became a part of the story. And for the first time, the man who built his career on being the good guy started to look like the opposite. Public opinion was shifting, and Hogan could feel it. The bright lights now had sharp edges. The fame that once lifted him high now weighed heavy. And behind that unstoppable image was a man starting to face the cost of being on top for too long. Then came the scandal that shook everything, Leaked recording of Hulk Hogan using racist language surfaced, and the fallout was immediate. It wasn't just headlines. It was heartbreak. Fans who grew up idolizing him were stunned. The larger-than-life hero, the face of countless childhoods, had said something that couldn't be undone. The backlash was swift. WWE, the company he helped build into a global brand, distanced itself overnight. His name was removed from the Hall of Fame section on their website. Merch disappeared. His legacy, once untouchable, was suddenly under a shadow. The legal battles that followed only deepened the storm. While he won a high-profile lawsuit against Gawker for invasion of privacy, the damage to his public image had already been done. People weren't just questioning his actions, they were questioning his heart. For many, it felt personal. Hogan wasn't just a wrestler. He was a symbol of hope, strength, and family values. Hearing those words from him wasn't just disappointing, it was painful. Social media erupted. Some defended him, calling it a private moment, a mistake. Others said it was unforgivable. And in the middle of all that noise stood a man who had once been the most beloved figure in wrestling, now facing the reality that millions no longer looked at him the same way. The fall was loud. It wasn't just about a career, it was about a legacy. It's about trust. About what happens when the person we looked up to turns out to be deeply flawed. Hulk Hogan, the hero of millions, had become a symbol of what it means to fall hard. And in front of the whole world and time, Hulk Hogan began a slow and quiet return. It wasn't dramatic, and it wasn't front-page news, but it was happening. WWE gradually welcomed him back into the fold, not as the conquering hero of old, but as a man humbled by his past, standing in front of a crowd that once worshipped him. Now unsure how to feel, Hogan offered public apologies. He addressed the scandal, acknowledged the hurt, and spoke about learning and growing. Some fans accepted it. Others weren't ready. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about redemption. It was about reflection. Behind the scenes, Hogan was facing his own battles. Health issues piled up, multiple surgeries, chronic pain. The physical toll of a legendary career that entertained millions, but cost him so much. The bright lights had faded, but the weight of those years never left him. Yet through all of it, many still respected him. Not because they forgot what happened, but because they saw the whole story. The rise, the fall, and the fight to rebuild. Hogan became more than a character. He became human. Deeply flawed. Sometimes disappointing, but never fake. That's the thing about legends. They don't stop being icons just because they stumble. In fact, sometimes it's their stumbles that make them more real. Hulk Hogan was both the larger-than-life hero who made wrestling mainstream and the man who taught the world that even heroes can fall. His story is a mirror. One that reflects the power of success, the danger of ego, and the painful beauty of trying to make things right. Whether you love him or not, his legacy reminds us all. Greatness is never without scars. This story isn't just about wrestling. It's about something much deeper, something every one of us can relate to. Hulk Hogan's journey teaches us that fame is a double-edged sword. One moment, you're a hero to millions. The next, your mistakes are front-page headlines. It shows us how power can lift you higher than you ever dreamed, how quickly it can slip through your fingers. Hogan didn't just lose fans, he lost trust, respect, and a piece of himself. But his story doesn't end with failure. It reminds us that no matter how hard life knocks you down, there's still room to stand back up. Redemption is never clean or easy, but it's real and it's possible. He was the face of an era. He brought wrestling into the mainstream, inspired kids to dream big, and showed the world what charisma looked like in full force. And then, he showed us something even more important, that behind every icon is a human being. Someone capable of mistakes, someone capable of growth. No matter how strong you are in the ring, life hits harder, that line. It's not just about Hulk, it's about all of us. Because legacies, real ones, are never perfect. Messy, complicated, filled with victories and regrets, but they're also human. And maybe that's the most powerful kind of legacy of all. So when we talk about Hulk Hogan, we're not just talking about wrestling history. We're talking about the highs and lows of being human in front of the world. And maybe that's why his story still matters today. What do you think? Should Hulk Hogan be remembered as a hero or a lesson? That question isn't easy to answer, and honestly, maybe it's not supposed to be. Because life isn't black and white. It's not just good guy or bad guy. It's filled with moments of greatness and moments of regret. And Hulk Hogan's story captures that truth perfectly. This is your moment to share your voice. Drop a comment below and let me know, what did you feel during this story? Did it remind you of your childhood? Or maybe make you see fame in a whole new way? Were you disappointed in him? Or do you believe in second chances? Your perspective matters here. This isn't just a story about one man. It's a mirror to all of us. So don't hold back. Let's make the comments section a place of real, raw conversation. I'll be reading every single one. And if this story moved you, even just a little, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more journeys like this we need to talk about. More legends, more rises and falls, more truths behind the fame. This channel is a space for stories that matter, the kind that stay with you long after the video ends. We're not here for gossip. We're here to learn, to grow, and to feel something real. If you're on that same path, welcome to the family. Stay humble, stay strong, and never forget, even legends can fall and rise again. Because the world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who are honest about their imperfections. And maybe that's what makes someone truly iconic, not just their spotlight moments, but how they handle the shadows. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.